This is Radio 84 MHz, broadcasting from the bustling streets and hidden alleys of Vietnam. You are tuning in to the frequency of authentic stories and unfiltered vibes. Today, we follow Mark, a Wall Street shark who believed a $2 street meal was beneath him. But a sudden storm and a humble plastic stool would shatter his ego, revealing a billion-dollar secret hidden inside a simple bowl of broth that Harvard never taught him. Presenting Wall Street Investor, Pho is for losers, and the taste of liquid time. Don't forget to subscribe for more hidden gems, and tell us below, has a cheap meal ever felt more valuable than a fine dining experience? Now, let's listen. Standing at the window of my suite at the Metropole, I look down at Hanoi, a colorful chaos. On Wall Street, we have an unwritten rule. If you have to queue for something, you've already lost. Time is the only currency that never suffers from inflation, and me? I never spend it on meaningless waiting. But look at that corner down there. What is causing the gridlock? An accident? A protest? No, it's a winding line of people, patiently standing in the humid heat just to wait for a bowl of broth. My local partner calls it culture. Me? I call it an inefficient allocation of resources. The doorbell cuts through my thoughts. It's Min. He walks in with that usual beaming smile, the enthusiasm of someone about to reveal a state secret. "Good morning, Mark," Min says, his voice full of energy. "The car is ready, but before the meeting, I want to invite you to a special experience. There's a street-side pho stall right nearby, the most famous in the Old Quarter. It's not in the travel guidebooks, but the flavor is exquisite." I turn around, still gripping my machine-brewed espresso. I raise an eyebrow, suppressing a sigh. "Pho? You mean that noodle soup they sell on the sidewalk for $2? Min, I thought we discussed standards. My stomach is insured for millions. It wasn't designed for low plastic stools and road dust." Min isn't discouraged. He tries to persuade me with big names. "Mark, you're misunderstanding. Pho is our soul. Travel plus Leisure praises it. Even the Michelin Guide has just arrived and awarded stars to pho spots. This is a cultural experience, not just dining." I set the coffee cup down on the table, the porcelain clinking sharply against the glass. "Michelin?" I smirk. "Come on, Min. Michelin is here because they need to sell tires. I've read the reports. I know about this so-called Vietnamese food craze, but let's look at reality." I walk closer to Min, looking him straight in the eye. "Did you read that article in The Guardian last week? There is a huge debate about authenticity. They say pho is being whitewashed when it goes abroad. Or worse, even here, it's just an overhyped trend. To me, a high-class meal must have process, service, and most importantly, privacy." I point down at the street. Huddling together, slurping loudly next to strangers, sharing a jar of chili sauce? That's not soft power, that's unhygienic. Are you telling me a fund manager managing $2 billion to queue for 30 minutes to eat a dish with a profit margin of less than 10%? Min looks slightly disappointed, but he remains surprisingly patient. "There are values that cannot be measured by profit margins, Mark. To cook that pot of broth, they have to wake up at 3 a.m. and simmer the bones for 24 hours. That is dedication." 24 hours for a $2 soup? I shake my head, unable to believe this economic logic. That is exactly why this economy is still in the potential bracket. Efficiency, Min. If I cook something for 24 hours, I'm selling it for $200 in a fine dining restaurant in Manhattan. You Vietnamese are very hardworking, I grant you that. But you are selling your labor cheap. I pat Min on the shoulder, ending the discussion. "No thank you. I'll have Eggs Benedict at the hotel restaurant. I need a breakfast that keeps me sharp to sign contracts, not a meal that makes me sweat like I just ran a marathon." Min leaves. I sit down at the pristine white cloth dining table. The waiter brings out a plate of poached eggs and smoked salmon. Perfect, clean, private. I cut into the egg, the yolk running out, and my thoughts drift to the bowl of pho I just rejected. Min is a good man, but naive. He thinks the world cares about traditional flavors. Mistake. The world cares about branding and scale. This pho dish? I've seen it in New York. A massive bowl full of onions. It's marketed as cheap comfort food for college students or drunks at 2 a.m. It has never and will never step foot into the true elite world. They say Vietnamese cuisine is about yin-yang balance. I see it as indecisiveness. Not bold enough like French food, not technical enough like Japanese food. It hovers in the middle, relying on fish sauce to mask the lack of premium ingredients. I came to Vietnam to find the next tech unicorn or semiconductor factory shifting from China. I didn't come here to romanticize poverty wrapped in the label of street food. A good bowl of pho? Maybe. But is it worth trading my status for? Absolutely not. Disasters often start with seemingly rational decisions. 8:30 a.m. My Mercedes is deadlocked in traffic on Hong Gai Street. A construction truck has blocked the entire road. I check my watch. The most important meeting of this trip starts in 20 minutes. I'll walk, I tell the driver, not waiting for a reaction. Google Maps says it's only 500 meters. With my stride, 5 minutes is enough. I open the door and step out with the confidence of a man who is always in control. Mistake. Barely 3 blocks in, the Hanoi sky collapses. Not a drizzle, but a sudden tropical storm dumping water like a waterfall. No umbrella. No decent shelter. My $5,000 bespoke suit is soaked in seconds. My Italian leather shoes slide on the slick, uneven pavement. I dash under the nearest awning for cover. Panting, wiping rainwater from my face, I look up. Fate has a cruel sense of humor. I am standing right in front of the pho shop Min pointed out this morning. Pho Gia Trien, heirloom pho. The sign is old, soot-stained, and the smell. That smell. Back in the air-conditioned room, I called it the smell of inefficiency. But now, freezing, wet, and starving because I skipped my poached egg, that scent, star anise, cinnamon, and grilled ginger, hits me like a leafily seductive invitation. I intend to wait out the rain outside, but an elderly woman with silver hair, standing by a massive cauldron of broth, waves at me. "Vowdy, Vowdy! Come in, she shouts in Vietnamese, pointing to the only empty seat in the corner. I hesitate. The floor is wet. The tables are comically low. The noise of diners slurping loudly. Everything goes against my standards of hygiene and privacy. But a cold gust of wind makes me shiver. Survival instinct overrides pride. I step inside. I sit on the plastic stool, my knees hitting my chin. It feels ridiculous. Mark, a Wall Street hedge fund manager, looking like a drowned rat in the heart of Hanoi. The old owner approaches. I brace myself for rudeness, the kind of emotionless service I usually get at cheap fast food joints in the States. I raise my hand to signal, no food, just waiting. But she doesn't care. She looks at my shivering state, clicks her tongue, and places a dry cotton towel on the table. It's old but clean and smells of sunshine. Then she places a small bowl of broth in front of me. No noodles, no meat, just hot broth with a few scallions. She pats my shoulder gently, smiling, a toothless but strangely warm smile, then returns to work. No demand for payment, no questions. Just a pure act of care from one human to another. I am stunned. In New York, if you loiter in a restaurant entrance without ordering, they call security. Here, they give you a towel. I look at the broth. It is crystal clear, amber-colored, steaming aggressively. It's just hot, salty water, I tell myself, trying to hold the fortress of my prejudice. I lift the bowl, taking a small sip just to warm up, and then, boom. It's not a flavor, it's a punch. The first sip hits my tongue, and my senses explode. It's not salty like I expected, it's sweet. But not the sweetness of sugar or industrial MSG. It's a deep, savory sweetness with an aftertaste that lingers forever in the throat. The sweetness of bone marrow simmered for dozens of hours. In that moment, my analytical brain is paralyzed. I taste the char of grilled shallots, the slight heat of ginger, the fragrant punch of cardamom. Everything blends perfectly, no single flavor overpowers another. This is exactly what the documents called the balance of 5 flavors and yin-yang philosophy. The heat, yang, balances with the fresh ingredients, yin. I freeze. I was wrong. This isn't fast food. To create this clarity and depth of flavor, the chef cannot take shortcuts. They cannot use chemicals to simulate time. What I am drinking is liquid time. I recall Min's words, 24 hours for a pot of broth. This morning, I deemed it a waste of time. Now, as the sweetness spreads through my body, chasing away the cold and hunger, I realize it is an investment, a high-risk investment in quality that no financial report can quantify. I drain the bowl, every last drop. I look around. The people around me, the ones I labeled losers for queuing, are eating with expressions of pure happiness and satisfaction. A motorbike taxi driver, an office worker, a group of students. No one cares about my soaked suit. They only care about their pho. The old owner looks at me, nodding as if she knew the outcome. She ladles out a full bowl for me. Pho bo tai lan, stir-fried rare beef pho. This time, I don't refuse. I pick up the chopsticks. My hand shakes slightly. Not from the cold anymore, but from a foreign feeling creeping into me. Shame. I judged a culture through the lens of profit margins. I looked down on craftsmanship just because it was served on a sidewalk instead of linen tablecloths. The beef melts in my mouth. The noodles are elastic and fresh. The broth is profound. Damn it, I curse silently, but the corner of my mouth quirks up in a wry smile. This is 1,000 times better than that $50 breakfast at the hotel. The rain outside hasn't stopped, but the wall of prejudice inside me has cracked. A crack that tastes of anise and cinnamon. I've changed out of my wetsuit into a fresh, dry, impeccable one. I'm sitting in a glass-walled meeting room on the 40th floor, looking down at the city. The contract signing is done. I got what I came for, the signature for the component factory. But my mind isn't here. It's still stuck in that smoky pho stall in the narrow alleyway. Why? Why did a simple soup cause such a violent sensory shock? Why did that old woman give me a towel instead of kicking me out? I am Mark. I don't believe in magic. I believe in data. I open my laptop and type in the keywords, Vietnam culinary economy. And my screen explodes with numbers I had arrogantly ignored. I find reports on Vietnam's soft power. It's not an abstract concept, it's money. Global position. Taste Atlas ranks Vietnamese cuisine 20th in the world, surpassing heavyweights in the region. The Magnet Effect. Condé Nast Traveler readers voted Vietnam 4th globally for best cuisine. The Michelin Effect. The arrival of the Michelin Guide isn't a tire-selling gimmick like I thought. Analysts identify it as a turning point for Vietnam becoming a top destination for gourmets. I pause at a tourism growth chart. Vietnam welcomed over 12 million international visitors, with tourism revenue recovering to 98% of pre-pandemic levels. The primary driver? Cuisine. I realize I'm looking at an undervalued blue-chip stock. That bowl of pho isn't just a snack. It's a brand ambassador bringing in billions of dollars in foreign currency. Min walks into the room, holding 2 cups of coffee. He looks at me, slightly concerned by my silence since this morning. Is the contract okay, Mark? Min asks. The contract is solid, I reply, eyes glued to the screen. But I'm interested in a different business model. Min, tell me the truth about that pho stall this morning. Min sits down. Pho Gia Trien? It's a family business. They've been selling there for 3 generations. I spin the laptop towards Min, pointing at an article from The Guardian that I had mocked earlier. This morning, I laughed at this article about the authenticity debate of pho. I thought it was a sign of chaos. But now I look again, a dish being fiercely debated in New York, London, and Paris? That's not chaos, that's influence. When a dish becomes a topic of global conversation, it has reached a position of power. I stand up, pacing the room, investor adrenaline coursing through my veins. Min, let's do some quick math. How many bowls does that shop sell a day? Min calculates mentally. About 500 to 700 bowls. They open early and sell out by noon. 700 bowls. Average price $2.50. Revenue $1,750 a day. Over $500,000 a year. From a floor space of less than 30 square meters. I look at Min, eyes blazing. Do you know the profit margins of fine dining restaurants in New York? 5 to 10%. They drown in rent, labor, and marketing costs. But that old lady's pho shop? Zero marketing spend. Customers do it by word of mouth. Zero food waste. They have a perfect just-in-time inventory system. The staff is family, absolute loyalty. Min laughs. Mark, are you analyzing pho like a financial statement? Exactly. I slam my hand on the table. That is the genius of simplicity. I've been hunting for tech unicorns with massive burn rates, but right in front of my eyes are sustainable cash cows. But what overwhelms me most isn't the money, it's the philosophy. I find a profound analysis from international food critics. They say the strength of Vietnamese cuisine lies not in conservatism or copying, but in unique creativity. Pho might evoke French consommé techniques, but the Vietnamese adapted, not copied. Adapted, not copied. They took refined techniques, then infused them with Vietnamese ingredients and sensibilities to create something entirely new, entirely unique. I recall the taste of the broth, the yin-yang balance, the 5 elements. That wasn't an accident. That is science. Min, I say, my voice lowering with respect. This morning I said the Vietnamese sell their labor cheap. I was wrong. You guys aren't selling labor. You are selling cultural essence at a price the world hasn't fully valued yet. I realize Vietnam's hidden power isn't just in the chip factories I'm investing in. It lies in the ability to transform humble ingredients into works of art and local culture into global soft power. That pho shop isn't small. It's part of a massive network reshaping the global tourism and cultural map. I close the laptop. My arrogance has vanished, replaced by the intense curiosity of a man who just discovered a treasure map. Min, I say, cancel the French dinner tonight. Min is surprised. Why? What do you want to eat? I smile. I want to go back to that shop. I need to understand how that old lady has maintained that quality for 40 years. That is a lesson in management that Harvard never taught me. 7 p.m. I returned to that alley. This time I wasn't alone, and I wasn't running from the rain. I was with Min. I had taken off my silk tie and rolled my dress shirt sleeves up past my elbows. I didn't want to look like an investor coming to appraise an asset anymore. I wanted to look like a diner. The alley had transformed. If by day it was a quiet painting, by night it was a symphony of life. This is exactly what Condé Nast Traveler calls the unique sidewalk culture, where the community connects not through Zoom meetings, but through plastic stools and the steam of broth. The line was still long, but I didn't feel annoyed anymore. I joined the queue, patient. Min tried to use his connections to ask for a private table, but I stopped him. No, Min, I said, we queue, like everyone else. When it was my turn, the old owner looked up. She squinted at me for a second, and then her face relaxed into a smile of recognition. Ah, the rain boy, she said, Min translated for me. She didn't remember me because of my expensive suit. She remembered me because I was a human being who had shivered and needed a towel. In her eyes, I wasn't a fun director. I was just a person who needed warming. She ladled me a special bowl with extra blanched scallions, something I noticed the local connoisseurs often ordered. We found 2 plastic stools in a corner of the sidewalk. The table next to us was a group of young people laughing loudly. The other was a 3-generation family. The atmosphere was noisy, but strangely, I felt at peace. I picked up the chopsticks but didn't eat immediately. I looked at Min, who was watching me with a mix of curiosity and amusement. Min, I started, my voice lowering. I said some stupid things this morning. Min waved his hand. It's okay, Mark. Cultural differences are normal. No, that wasn't culture. That was arrogance, I interrupted. I came to this country with the mindset of a shopper. I looked at the cheap labor costs, I looked at the low rent, and I thought that was all your value. I thought I was the one bestowing opportunities. I pointed at the steaming bowl of pho in front of me. But this bowl, and the way that old lady treated me, it taught me a lesson in behavioral economics that no textbook ever could. You guys aren't selling cheap. You are offering an incredibly high value proposition. Superior quality, dedication, and most importantly, humanity. Expats like me come here, maybe out of curiosity at first, but we stay because of this feeling of connection and gratitude. Min listened silently, his eyes brightening. I continued. I read the Expat Insider report. Expats rank Vietnam #1 for personal finance, but they also rank you highest for friendliness. I thought those were two separate metrics, but now I understand they are connected. This social stability and hospitality is the foundation for economic growth. It is a self-reinforcing ecosystem. I took a sip of the broth, still that deep sweetness of time. I'm going to change the contract terms, I announced. Min started, almost dropping his chopsticks. What? You want to cut the investment capital? No, I smiled. I want to increase the budget for training and employee welfare. I don't want to build a factory just to exploit cheap labor anymore. I want to invest in human capital. I've seen the dexterity and meticulousness of that pho cook. If our workers have that same dedication, we won't just be assembling components. We can create the most sophisticated products in the world. I pulled out my phone and canceled my flight back to New York for tomorrow morning. Min, don't take me to the industrial park tomorrow. Take me to meet the artisans. Ceramics, silk, lacquer, anyone. I want to understand deeper the source of this resilience and talent. I want to know why a nation that has been through so much pain can be so optimistic and generous. I lifted the bowl, drank it to the very last drop, and set it down on the table with a satisfying clack. A gesture I would have considered rude this morning, but now I see as the most sincere compliment to the chef. And Min, I winked. Next time, don't call me director. Just call me Mark. Or, the Rainbow works too. I was no longer a cold investor looking down from an ivory tower. I had sat down on a plastic stool, lower to the ground, but closer to the heart of this country. 5 a.m. I am standing by Hoan Kiem Lake. If you asked the Mark of 48 hours ago what he would be doing at this hour, he would have said, sleeping in a plush bed at the Metropole, preparing for a day of battle. But the Mark of today is standing here, watching a city wake up. Hanoi at this hour is strange. It isn't as noisy as I thought. Elderly people practice Tai Chi with slow, fluid movements. Street vendors walk so lightly they seem to float. I suddenly realize a strange parallel between this rhythm and a pot of pho broth. In the West, we worship speed. Move fast and break things is the mantra of Silicon Valley. But here, I see a different kind of power. The power of stillness and resilience. A pot of pho broth cannot boil violently at maximum heat. If it does, the water turns cloudy and loses its delicate sweetness. It must simmer gently, softly, but continuously for 24 hours. Vietnam is the same. This country doesn't grow through bubble bursts or flashy financial tricks. It grows the way one simmers a pot of bones. Slowly, patiently, enduring the heat of history, to extract only the purest essence. I once called that inefficiency. Now I call it the wisdom of time. I sit on a stone bench, gazing at the calm surface of the lake. I think about why the whole world queues to eat this dish. Why did Michelin have to come here? Why do travel magazines praise it as a global favorite? It's not because it's cheap. Cheapness does not command respect. The world loves pho because it is truth in a world full of artificiality. In that bowl, there is no room for deception. The broth is crystal clear. You can see all the way to the bottom. If the ingredients aren't fresh, you know immediately. If the cook doesn't care, you taste it instantly. That is the character of the people here that I have discovered. They are transparent in their emotions. They are incredibly optimistic. No matter how many ups and downs, wars, or storms they go through, they wake up the next morning, smile, and cook a new pot of broth better than yesterday's. I came here seeking financial profit, but I found a more valuable asset: social capital, built on trust and community bonding. That is why foreigners feel absolutely safe here. That is why my friends at Expat Insider rank this place as one of the best places to live. Because here, over steaming bowls of pho, people don't treat each other transactionally. They treat each other like kin. I take out my phone, opening the voice recorder to send a final message to the board in New York. To my partners, forget the reports I sent last week. Stop looking at Vietnam as just a cheap workshop. That is a strategic error. We aren't investing in a developing country. We are investing in a rising power. But their rise isn't based on aggression or intimidation. It is based on soft power. Like their bamboo diplomacy, they are flexible yet resilient. Like their pho, they are balanced and harmonious. I have learned this. True sophistication lies not in a silk tablecloth, but in the ability to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. I will stay here for another week, not to work, but to learn how to breathe and learn how to wait. Because the best things in life, like a good bowl of pho, are always worth queuing for. Mark turns off the phone, taking a deep breath of the fresh Hanoi morning air. He smiles, stands up, and merges into the flow of people starting their new day. This time, he isn't walking against the current. He is walking with them.